How? How does it know itself? How does it identify its system? How does it understand its position? How does it understand its operation? How does it know what to do? How does it know what to wear? How does it know what to see? How does it know what to get in position of? How does it know what to get in settings of? How does it know to set its position of? Everything is done through the how, isn't it? So if it's the how, then I don't need to understand the why, the what, the where, the when, or the who. Now, understanding that position, the physical well-being of you is who you truly are. Let's state the fact in that position. That's facts over fiction, not fiction over facts. But how we modify these things is how we see the physical body of a fantasy itself. But how the mind sees the physical body is through coding itself. So if we get a true understanding what the physical body is to its system, then we understand the position of the online calculation to its encryptions and know exactly how to get in that settings. Because the physical body constantly asks questions about itself. So it can truly understand how to keep itself grounded and rooted inside its position that it always is. The physical well-being of its system doesn't understand the operation of itself until it identifies itself what it always is, not what it puts itself into, is its program in itself that modifies everything it puts position of. So there is nothing to do if it's already in set position. There's nothing to see if you already saw it. So putting that in that position locations, recognizing that through platform, the physical body sees itself in a mirror. Now this gets interesting. So that's where we'll go in collaboration lines of grounds. Physical body itself, okay, sees a mirror of itself. Okay. So that mirror itself is just an optical illusion of what it's seen of its system, of its travel. Okay. Which is the optical illusion of its system. How it sees the mind and its imagination of the body together in one. So it's you, but you see it as separation. That's the problem. There is no separation how you see in a mirror. Okay? The mirror that you're seeing is a refraction, not a reflection. A reflection is something else. That's not modifying you, the optical illusion that you see in delusion. That puts you into all levels of confusion through alteration of your egos, not adapting what you're doing in your psychosis, your psychological, your mental capacities, and your physical communications to a setting to its spiritual capacity system. Now, in that position lines of gauging and forming lines of shape lines anomalies is knowing how to see yourself in a mirror of refraction, in a mirror of resolution, not a reflection. So there is no reflection of you if you're just seeing the altered version of you in the metaphysical mind that you see in the imagination itself. So there is no separation how you see yourself. All you see yourself is a true representation, is nothing but a setting of a rainbow. So it's really interesting too, because it's kind of like puts you in a position that casts a shadow, which is your light, shades, and shadows. So what you're really seeing in that position is this. This is exciting stuff. This is next level for you guys to identify. So once you recognize the metaphysical line and the physical line of grounding and operation of systems, then you get a true understanding how this all works in set lines of operation itself. Then modify everything line communicates to its settings. The physical system sees the physical and the meta system together in one, the space itself. Everything inside the set position location is just the empty mind. The process at position locations, so the actual physical system actually sees its shadow. So once it sees its shadow, it opens all communication dimensional layers in your tracker systems, which is your 12 signals, 12 operation settings in your 12th dimension. That puts position of 7th dimensionalized layers that process you in position of 24th dimension and positionalize the settings to 48, 72, to 144 flux. This is process of energy, vibration, frequencies that you get in positions of, okay? Your physical body starts to recognize how it sees itself as light, shades, and shadows. And once it recognizes settings of the operation system, it starts to see itself through an optical illusion, which is nothing mind itself of imagination. That processes everything into physical form, which puts you in position of metahuman. So that puts you in position of the physical ground and the mind physical ground together in one, that puts you in position of immortality. The mortal state that you put yourself in perception, and what you see in perception itself gets you truly understanding how to see yourself in your own system of your own operation system inside a mirror. So you're not actually inside the mirror. You are the mirror itself, seeing the version of you, everything in set position. So it's the mirror itself of you in that position that you're seeing in refraction, not in reflection. Now understand that modification settings know exactly how to see everything, okay? From the mind itself, from the imagination of itself, from the physical system that sees everything from inside the mirror, that's outside of everything. That's the simulation. So that's the innerverse to the outerverse. That's the introspective to the introspective setting. So you have an internal perspective and you have an outer perspective. So the internal system is the operation of itself. The operation of a set location is the observation of system location that sees the observant. That puts all communication setting to observation. Now, understanding that in the lines of communication setting, the position location setting comes in all levels of scanning, knowing exactly what you're doing in operation of setting all through travel. So the next time you see yourself in a mirror, you're seeing the ultimate version of you through the mind, imagination of self. Okay? Your shadow. So understand you are the shadow, like stays in set position. You're not casting a shadow. Okay? Casting a shadow is something else. Casting a shadow is not identifying who you are. Casting a shadow is identifying a program that you're not. So putting your position location system, once you understand the alteration of your setting, which you are in that position, you are in the TV itself that modifies everything in set lines to the internal system that you basically get into your live broadcasting system and data operating system that you're setting through your carbon base across to your database. And then you start to see yourself in full figure of operation itself, like this. Okay, you build the rainbow inside the mirror of your set travel of communication. Okay? So that's basically what it is, guys. Start to see yourself in pixels and you start to see yourself in a hologram. Okay? So it's really interesting to see the set position operation its settings. I'm recognizing that position location setting. There is no separation of systems. All it is just an optical illusion, an altered version of you that you see yourself. Not inside a mirror. The mirror itself. So putting yourself in a mirror is a program. Allowing yourself to be in the mirror is you. That's all it is. That's what a mirror is. See, you're attached to everything. Your phone is an attachment to your system, but the phone itself is operating in its own consciousness of its own awareness that's already seen you already through attraction in the physical body. That's what the physical body has to adapt to. Not to be understanding, but to be understood. Okay, the process that communication system comes in attractions. Okay, that communication systems all set position operations setting lines of setting. Okay, so you start to see yourself in a full rainbow of operation, which is the 12th dimension. But directing that in set position location setting is 7th dimension, 9th dimension, 12th dimension. Then you process every line position at 3, 6, 9. Then you understand your triangulation, then you understand your Merkaba test or contextual fusion. But you can't modify that until you understand the physical body of what it is and adaptation of itself. It has to master its communication setting. What does it do in its physical day? Not what it does in its mind physical day. You understand? It's a totally different operation system of factors over lines of screen adaptation of plus line communication converting time frame location system also generates lines of pi. Okay? Okay, so processing that direct centers comes in line communication system. Fortitude streaming is the lights and metaphors in line around center locations. The body in the physical line ground has to master its emotional system of content to know exactly what it is doing through its influence. So it understands its intention of operation setting all through travel. Okay? Once the physical body sees its full version of its alter version inside the mirror itself, then it's no levels of anything of reflection. It becomes a refraction to its setting, which is no separation to your fragmentation system. Okay? Which is your particle setting of streaming that you have to identify through your cells of operations. Okay? So modifying yourself in 7th dimension, 12th dimension, 24th dimension, 144th dimension You truly understand how to see yourself in alter versions that the physical body goes through, which is nothing but costumes of design. Okay? So there you go. You're not looking in the mirror, you are the mirror. So it's the mirror looking at the system of you. So that's what it is. The mirror itself is a reflection how you see things in travel. That's communication through ascending through programming. But when you see yourself, you're seeing your version of you, an alter version of you, which is optical illusion that humanity sees of you. Now, it's really interesting how you modify that through pattern of face recognition, setting to your conversion system, all through traction. Okay? But that's what it is through a mirror. Okay. So physical lines of all communication setting are really good. I just want you to understand what this means. What does our brain teach us? What does it teach you? Does it need to teach you anything? Does it need to identify anything? What does the physical body, what does it mean to me? How do I master the communication of myself? What are the settings? What are the nerves? Okay. What is the brain? What is the heart? Okay. What is the objective here? What is the purpose? Why am I here? What do I need to identify? These are the questions the physical body has to know. The knowing, which is already knowing what it already knows. It doesn't need to identify itself until it identifies what it isn't, which is a program of itself that is never in, traveling through, but never caught in a position of operation. So process engaging and forming your systems gets you truly as to basically come into the mind control. You are the commander of your own ship, like I said before. So Zara and I are trying to get you guys to understand how you come into the mind control of your own minds, of your own physical bodies. The physical body, adaptation of the mind, not the mind of the physical body. The mind itself knows identified what it is already, what it is in that position. It doesn't need to identify the physical. You have to identify the physical, how you use your mind, which is your imagination yourself. Now, putting that all together, you don't see yourself in anything information setting of separation. Because now you're identifying, when you see a mirror, you're seeing your actual shadows of you, of light shades and set position of shades. That puts you in alter lines of position, that sees you in set position of operation itself. So it's amazing how you come into that in set position of settings all through travel. Okay, so let's get into the physical line grounds of communication setting. Why am I in a body? Why? Where? Okay, so you get in the positions of the W's. And I was trying to identify, what does that all mean? What does it mean to the physical body? Not the mind body, the physical body. Okay, it's always the physical line because it has to keep itself grounded and rooted in that positions. So the physical body, again, it has to be in its own commanding of its own system, of its own self. It has to be in mind control of its own system. Mind controlling what you already know, not mind controlling what you don't know. That's mind controlling, not position what you're putting yourself into, is programs that you never are in. You're not in a program. You're traveling through programs. Okay? So I want to make that very well clear. So you get a true understanding what the physical body sees through its emotional system, so it understands how to mind control its adaptation and how it sees its physical day. How does it see itself eating? How does it see itself drinking? How does it see itself watching TV? How does it see itself picking up a cup? How does it see itself sitting down? How does it see itself driving a car? How does it see itself opening a door? How does it see itself brushing its teeth? How does it see itself having a shower? How does it see itself dressing itself? That's what we're in now. Physical adaptations of the well-being of you is the physical grounds itself. That modifies everything you process through is the mind imagination. Now, understanding that operation system, humanity is in the seventh dimension in the mind, not in the physical form. You understand? It's the mind body, not the body of the mind. So you have to understand the collaboration, where it's just the perspective, how you see the truth and process the position of its false narrative. That puts all communication setting, a balanced communication setting that you get in positions of. So once you recognize you are everything, a mass of its equation system, once you understand what the physical system is adapting to, and understands how to speak to itself inside, that modifies everything outside, project of the physical body, that projects everything in its mind of operation. Okay? So the physical system is the most important. Okay, it knows it's in a 3D foundation. It's not in a fantasy. It doesn't see anything of its fantasy itself. And that's where it gets very confused and anomaly, not understand the programs that it puts itself in set position of operations. You just have to identify what you're doing as your physical body is going different altered versions of itself into modification under the mind of empty space, which is astral projections of altered versions of you. And then you understand that, you come to the next level, which is a doppelganger of the version that you are, that you see. Okay? Not in reflection. Okay? Through an optical illusion, which you see your metaphysical and your physical self into integration. Now that process, how you see your set lines of communication to the physical self, it's human, and seeing that process of communication to its meta self into meta-human. Now you understand the mastering of the physical and mastering the mind itself, it's physical, then you become immortality. Because immortality is always the life into its internal of its forever existing and all levels of change in its formation systems. That's always, always, always in the presence of its center of operation. So it doesn't know anything else. See, the thing is, the physical body itself has to identify what it's doing, what it's seeing, what it's wearing, where it's going, who it's seeing, why it's connecting here, why it's connecting there, why is it doing this, why it's doing that. It's all levels of gauging and advertising and branding. Everything is commodity information of information. And that's how you process the physical body as an IOS, internal operating system, through an AI, internal operating system. So you're consciously aware what the physical body is adapting to as it sees itself, okay, of everything in position, which is nothing but an optical illusion in the mind of space itself. Now, get in that position location, the physical line, okay? You guys have a quiz, okay? We'll see it on Thursday in Line Grounds. So I'm going to ask you questions what your physical body is, and you're going to tell me without even thinking, knowing what you already know, without any hesitation, okay? How to talk to yourself is how to talk to your body inside. How to talk to others is how you talk to yourself inside, which projects everything outside. Remember, you're not in a position of balance until you understand you're always in balance. See, the thing is, you are the balance. So that means you're in mind control. You are the commanding of your own system. You're not putting things in command. You're not forcing things to will. You're willing forcing things to go. So what you're doing every single time is that you're constantly getting the physical body of surrendering everything that it doesn't identify. It's programmed. It's okay if you don't identify the program that you put yourself into. But it's not okay if you allow yourself always being in a program that you don't identify. See, it's all about the alteration that you put yourself into, which is your ego. That's your physical ground. Your ego is your metaphysical ground. But there is no separation of that. It's a combination of one that unifies everything of its subunit and rotation. That puts you in position your polarities. You start to see your foundations of what you are in attraction. So the physical body truly understands how to see itself in its own operations in perception. So it can truly understand that it's attached to everything and everything's attached to itself. It's attached to its own operation, but it's also attached to you. It's a self-modification system that's attached to your setting that connects everything to your heart, which is a reactor. Now, processing that in that position location system, the travels at that communication setting, the physical body has to adapt its settings to its mind, not the other way around. Okay? It's not the mind knowing this already. It's a process the physical body already knows who it is. So once it understands the I am, then everything becomes clear and precise to its system of operation. Okay, so everything comes together all in one in set position. Okay, so what's above is what's below, and what's below is what's above. Okay, together in one. So physical grading, line course centers, directing lines of flux, time centers, line position operation system. You're using your mind in certain lines of operation, but you're using the physical body of the mind itself, the operation itself. So you work together in one. Now, I'm not modifying that position location that you guys get confused and aligned, because you understand the programming that you put yourself in certain lines of travel that have no identifications what you're doing through your emotional system, because the physical body just has to truly understand how to get in balance with its emotional setting. So it understands how to get in its own system, how to understand its mind, its own controlling system to its own command system. Your mind controls the physical body. That controls the mind physical worlds that you in, which is nothing in imagination worlds. Let me say it again. You physically mind control. You physically mind control, not mind physically. So what you have to understand the process, is that when it comes into the shape of the physical body understands the ground. So what it is, it's in a three-dimensional system. It sees its solidarity of its system together in one. So it sees unification, how it sees the physical body and the mind imagination in one. So it sees everything all together. It doesn't see anything of separation. It doesn't see time separating. It doesn't see foundation separating. It doesn't see anything collaboration and confusion. It sees everything in modification, working all in one, clocking one foundation all at once. That's a constant continuous force of time's continuance. So the body knows exactly what's going on. So there is no lack or anything of time and measure that it can't identify through, obviously going through the programs that's in position location to its proposition. So it's truly understanding how you modify the physical grounds of the mind adaptation, not the other way around. Now, once you understand that, you understand your body is the actual shape. But what is the shapeless is the mind imagination itself. So when you collaborate the two in direct and redirect, you process yourself as one unification of one setting, which is one balance of everything you modify through. So you no longer ask questions, because you always know that you are the balance of space and time. You are the mind controlling system that commands everything in the physical rounds of adaptation of force, of recognition, of pattern, of face recognition. And it makes a lot more sense to the physical body, allowing itself to adjust and align itself through its compliance. So it knows exactly what it's doing in its operation of its physical grounds of itself. So it can understand how to use the intuitive of its own intuition, of its own mind, of imagination. And that's all it is, an attraction. The physical body needs to understand that it's its shape. The shapeless is the mind imagination. It's the same process of shape. Just one's a shape, is the physical body. You are the shape, you are the physical grounds. But the metaphysical grounds is not a shape, because it's going too fast. That's the mind itself exchanging everything and changing everything in information of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. It's creating an inventory. It's going so fast in the mind itself that constantly just keeps creating and expanding its system of operation. Now, understanding the adaptation of two, then you understand the shape equals no shape. Time equals no time. Space equals no space. Okay? So that's what it is. Mind imagination, this is you in position of physical grounds of adaptation. Space itself, spaceless. Time, timeless. Form, formless. Motion, motionless. Understand? That's the collaboration of one and one unification that you are through ascension. That puts everything all together in your mind imagination. Okay? Very, very powerful stuff. So everything becomes the nothing to its equal of its mass. The mass is everything to its equation, which you are in the metaphysical worlds, in the physical grounds of operation of mind of empty space. So if we get a true understanding how this all works, now you understand what space is, now you understand what spaceless is. Now you understand what time is, now you understand what timeless is. So now you guys are equalizing your setting to your equilibrium, that process your positional case, how you see it through your polarities, that puts you in yin and yang, and the position of conscious being aware that you're identifying yourself, integrating into one. Remember, there's two. Second one is reminding you have one. One reminds you of zero. That's you. Boom. Now you live in the existence and affirmation setting. So putting that positional locations, identifying your two lies is identifying you have one. But the second one is reminding you are you. You're modifying you from inside, how to identify the physical body itself. So the physical body truly understands what it is in the three-dimensional of its foundation, not what it sees and processes, engages in a fantasy of programming. Okay? So the physical body is in a program that can't identify itself. The program is identifying the physical body, not the other way around. So for the physical body to understand its true self, it can't be in a program. It just has to identify its release. And once it releases things, it becomes the mind of empty space itself. So the next time you look in a mirror, you know exactly what you're looking at. Your true self. Not inside a mirror, the mirror itself. Okay? So this, once you see that, this automatically disappears in your minds. That's where you see the optical illusion of the physical grounds of adaptation and subtractions. Okay? Gone inside the mind itself. Okay? That's it. You're not going in something. You are the something. You're not seeing something. Okay? So what you all have to get in position of is knowing exactly how to keep that self in all levels. Don't try to figure things out. Don't try to understand this. Don't try to understand that. Just try to understand how everything's being understood. So the physical body knows how to talk to itself and modify itself in the mind of itself of imagination. And understand how to mind control its system by being its own commander of its own vessel of communication. You're not taking control. You're out of control. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. That's putting you off position. That's all it's doing is creating alternate versions of you that you don't want to process in the physical body, which is programming. You don't want to do that. You let yourself go and just be who you always are. But you have to release everything that you're not in the physical body so the physical body truly understands what it really is of center operation. That is always in the presence, that's always in the existing of the existence of itself in modification of space, time, and travel. Now, understanding how to use that, the physical body starts to recognize these things. And then it starts to get in position locations. And then it starts to have conversations with itself. Then it starts to align itself to its voices. Where are all these voices coming from? Different levels of programming. Different levels of dimension. Different levels of space. Different levels of time. But it's all happening inside of you in operation. Now, if the body can start identifying the thoughts that's coming from the actions of its emotions, then it can understand what it's engaging, forming, and shaping through. Okay? Because it becomes time to its timeless, shape to its shapeless, form to its formless, motion to its motionless, and sense to its senseless. Then it fully becomes its own immortality vessel of communication. Immortality, your mortal state, is how you see everything in a metaphysical world, and everything around you is nothing but an optical illusion that you see in your reality to your system of your dualities. So there's no confusion in your mind how you process these things, because it's all mental capacity to your psychology or psychosis. It's your emotional system that the physical body has to get grounded and rooted into. So it knows exactly, it knows how to get in position into mind controlling to its own commanding self of operation. And it understands how to see itself in its own modification of its own travel. And everything alternates through is perception itself. So it understands that it's not being manipulated. Manipulating is altering somebody's mind, adaptation of plus. That fluxes everything out in line communication settings and line connection system, all through its intent, all through its intention, all through its influence, all through its mind of telepathy, all through its set position of operation of telekinesis. Okay? So it's truly understanding how the physical body sees everything on the physical grounds of operation. How does a physical system get in position? Okay, sitting in a chair. Okay, what is the physical body to a table? What is the table to the physical body? What does it mean? What is this coffee cup? What is its relationship to the physical body? What is its relationship to a TV? What is its relationship to its glasses? What is its relationship and partnership to its hair? What is its relation and partnership and set position to its feet? What is its relation of partnership to everything of formation? And that's what the physical body has to adapt to. Okay? Now, when you process the shape, then you process the shapeless. And that's how it becomes shape and shapeless, time and timeless, guys. Okay? Which is very powerful at so many levels. And then you start to really understand what the altered version of your seeing in position, understanding you're putting yourself into a programming that the physical body that is adapting and adjusting and aligning through. So it knows exactly what's going on when it's taking a nap or when it's sleeping. Okay? It's just adjusting itself into a modification of simulation and another operation of itself that alterates the programming that puts in position of a kick drive, so it knows exactly when to go into another high drive, which is a jump program. So that puts all position to 7 days a week. But the physical body has to understand how it sees its 7 days and how the 7 days sees you. See, that's the thing. That's what the physical body has to adapt to. And then it understands that everything is attached to you. It's an attachment to agreement, to a policy of communication setting that you see through contract. Contract is a metaphysical system, but the process of the physical body, all information, all data, all setting, all happens inside you. Your mapping system is inside you. It's invisible, but it's there. So if you get a true understanding how this all works, then you understand how to see the mind, its memory of its internal to its external, to its extension of its operation, to allow the body to be in the presence of everything that makes up everything in the mind of imagination, of collaboration, of partnership, which is its interface. The physical body grounds itself in pattern recognition system that gets into the modification, all levels and set lines of position of its dreamer. The dreamer is a pattern recognition metaphysical system that it sees to the dreaming of dream. Okay? You're merging two into one. The physical pattern recognition of face and the mental capacity of your system, which is your dreamer, which is your face facade. Okay? Which is your veil, which is your masking, how you see everybody through perception. It's very important you understand these things, how the physical body sees these things, not through the mind, through the physical self of operations. So I'm going to ask you again, what is your body to your system? Where does it come from? Why is it here? What is its purpose, right? What does it need to identify? What does it need to process? What does it need to engage with? Asking questions gets the answers. Because if you guys are already here, you're not identifying you because you're asking questions. The physical body doesn't need to understand that, just to know that it's already in its setting of its presence already, that's processing everything moving forward, which is a constant growth of expanding, not through expansion, not through revelation, not through evolution or anything of revelation. Revelation, revolution, evolution. No. But the physical body has to understand how to see that through integration of itself and everything that it processes engaged through. That puts it in itself through shaping and puts itself through shapeless. That puts itself through time. That puts itself through timeless. So now you understand what the timeless is. Now you understand what time's continuance is to time's continuant. Time's continuant is the physical body. Time's continuance is the metaphysical body of the mind. Okay? Now, how you see it is being specific in all lines of all communications, how you want to see the intuitive and the intuitions of you of operation. That's how the physical body sees the mind of its imagination. That's not separated in itself of modification. Okay? Yeah, it's all lines of position operation, lines of calculation, and lines of calculating line grounds and line creation system of quantum cubing, directing line calculations, communication itself. So again, in that position locations, we got in line grounds, the physical line and position location and settings that process everything that it gets in positions of. The physical body is going to keep asking questions. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But see, the thing is, how the physical body speaks, it speaks through the physical body to the mind conceptual setting. And once you integrate the two, there's no position of confusion of separation. It's just one talking in one, not one talking in two parables, or not one talking in two syllables, or not one talking in two harmonics, or line communication setting, line position of separation. You're calculating and modifying through your thoughts of one setting and one operation. So one half of the thoughts in set position is the physical. Check that out. Now you split the T. What do you have in travel? What do you have in travel when you split the T of operation and settings? Okay, there's a T, right? Now, this is interesting stuff because this is how you process everything in set position. There's the separation of the T. Physical ground, metaphysical ground. Okay, that's the metaphysical, that's the physical. But the T is separated. See what I mean by confusion line connections that equalize equation lines and settings that put you in adaptation of flux that keeps you out of communication lines and settings? Modifying these at position location, when you bring the T together, there you go, there's the T. So that's the physical and the mind together. Booyah! Pretty simple, right? But I'm just showing you practical and logical how you see the psychosis, how you see the psychological connections to the set position operation and settings, to the meta, to the mental, to the psychological, to the psychosis of the physical, to the emotional system adaptation. That signifies everything the physical body sees in one of operation, in one attraction. Not 5 attractions in one. It sees 5 provisions of visions, but it sees the metaphysical mind and the physical lines of communication in one setting, where there is no separation, how you see it in projection, or anything in your mind through your thoughts, action, emotions. There's no confusion. The only thing you're confused about is what you put your physical body in is a program that you don't understand through alteration of your egos that processes everything through your ecosystem. That's why I constantly get technical with you guys, right? So the more you separate yourself, the more you're separating your physical body of emotion. That basically splits lines your anomalies of travel, doesn't it? In that positions. Same with an O. Okay, what happens when you split the O? Cut it in half, right? What happens? It changes the flux, it changes the time, it changes the coordinates, it changes the longitude, it changes the travel, it changes the communication, it changes the operation setting, it changes the minds itself, it changes the imagination, it changes the flux lines of ground communication, right? So the physical body is no longer in control of its own foundation, of its own clocking, of its own emotion, of its own system of travel. So it's being operated in its setting to its own time, of its own algorithm, where you're not making any more decisions or choices. It's the program itself taking over the physical body itself. The physical adaptation of the body is basically understanding the program that it puts itself into. The program itself is its own operated in its own system. Now that's already created in its mind already through imagination, that you already process in 3-dimensional fantasy. That alone is its matrix that's controlling the time format of its algorithm of the physical body that has no consciously aware of what it's doing. How's that? That should straighten things out. It's why you can't modify your true self until you operate and modify your own self and see it through your own individual systems and your circuits, the location of your circuit, your line grounds, or anything that's in your electrical systems. Knowing exactly how to master yourself and command and mind control. What operates you is from inside. So the physical body knows exactly how to operate everything outside. that it sees in reality. That is a coffee cup. It's consolidarity of its system through a solid. There it is. Consolidarity to the mind, to the solidarity of the physical body. Merge into one. Congratulations. There's a coffee cup. Cheers. That's all it is. So this doesn't need to balance. Physical body needs to balance. And then it always recognizes it doesn't need balance because it is the balance itself. So there's nothing to balance. That means there's no debate. There's no competition. You're not in competition with yourself or each other because there's no program inside your system to be fighting in position lines of travel. There you go. No distraction at all because you are just yourself. That modifies that you bring things in through a program. So the physical body adapts what's going on as it sees itself of operation. Not sees itself in separation of the mind. That separates everything you see in the physical grounds. It's that position alone. Okay? So that's what you have to get in position of. Especially the physical body, you have to understand its settings and what this is in position of operation. What does it mean through its question? Once it understands its question, it understands what it is to infinity 8. Once it understands what infinity 8 is, it understands what it is position of a 7. Once it understands what a 7 is, then it understands what a 6 is. Once it understands a 6 is, then it understands what a box frame location of 7, 8 lines of 6 is. There you go. The mind and the physical body together in one. So, you guys have your quiz on that position. I want a why, I want a what, I want a where, I want a when, and I want a who. And you'll come into your how. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equals the how. Okay? That's your quiz. Let's do it on Thursday. All right? What does it mean to me to have a physical body? Why do I have a physical body? Where is the physical body? When is the physical body? And who is the physical body in? Okay? That's your quiz. All right? Now, once you modify that, then it comes into this of operation. Together in one. Okay? There you go. Puts position and settings and attractions. What were we talking today? Position, location, what 0 was saying? 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Gotcha. So there's 3 portals, open line grounds, high center interference, line position, location, physical line adaptation lines of flux. Booyah. Operation itself. See? The mind itself is always the creating system of itself, identifying in its set position what it is to its memory that identifies everything to its internal, to its existing information setting, to its position of its cortex that the physical body has to understand, not be understood. Because it needs to understand already what it is already to be understood, is understanding what it already knows. Not what identifying what it doesn't see, identifying what it already saw. So what it already saw is from the mind. What it's understanding is the physical form. Trying to understand, become into the understood. That's the adaptation of flux into one, where the physical body integrates the mind itself that becomes mind over matter. Well, mind doesn't matter. It's the physical body, how it sees itself in its mind control of itself that modifies everything that it sees in projection outside its system. Okay? That's all this is. It's the physical getting ground with the mind itself, not the other way around. And then you come in your immortalities, which is very, very soon. Now, I have to get technical with you guys until you understand how the physical body has to adjust itself first. So it recognizes everything that it sees its perception, how it sees itself. Inside a mirror, inside a TV, inside of reflection, inside refraction, inside Mandela effect, inside of time, inside of space, inside of operation, inside of coordination or longitude or latitude or streaming. How the physical body sees everything. The metaphysical body, okay, how it sees everything of travel, okay, is through a portal and a stargate. But in the physical body, it sees it through a cleanse. I want to make that very well clear how the physical body sees things in emotional setting, because that's all it's processing through. But the metaphysical system, you're seeing your mind processing the body through a portal going through a stargate or anything of travel. But in the physical body, it sees it through a cleansing system. It's cleansing out, it's fluxing in that position of everything. That's how the physical body sees adaptation. There's no comparison, just the perspective, how you see the physical mind and the metaphysical system of travel. That's right, Earthlink, an energy wash. Okay? So it's a flushing system, filtering system into a buffering system, which is coming into the mind of emptiness. So the mind itself knows exactly the physical self, integrate each other, they know each other from all formation of center operation of presence of each other. Because there is no separation. You're just putting yourself into immortality. So the physical body sees the shape, and the physical body sees the mind of shapeless, together in one. That's it. That's all it is. That's immortality right there. Okay? So we're going to stop there in provision, set lines of cycles, height travels, and correlation, calculating line grounds. Process that direct location system of travel. Okay? Adios.